Daniel, welcome to the Weekly Profit. Again, I know we were just talking about it, but I'm really appreciative that you're here. We're going to dive into a lot of cool stuff related to your experience, how you're currently making money online, how you your unique experience you had to dive into this space, and then what you're currently doing now and really dive into the mindset all behind it. So, I want to talk about, what are you most excited about right now, like current, present day, what you're building?
hmm I mean, today I just got actually accepted to be the crypto guy in GCC. GCC is one of the networks, one of the big networks online. Iman runs it, so that's probably something I'm really excited about. Like right this very moment, just getting my sort of mindset towards crypto in front of a high level group of people, because I feel like my approach works best with people who are busy, focused on their businesses, on their careers, who want to do crypto without investing the time. So that's probably what I'm most excited about at the moment. Like, sort of adapting my, like, really teaching everything I know to that sort of particular type of audience. Besides that, I would say probably just this mastermind that I run, which is like teaching crypto again. Same sort of thing, but it's one of my main projects at the moment. It's really fun. So, yeah, I'd say those two are the top things at the moment.
Yeah, super cool. And how did you first get started in crypto? Because I think that's a big piece of obviously like what you just said, what you're, building everything around. Where did that start for you? Where did you see was it the 2017s, like early Bitcoin, or was it later you saw the push and then started to say, okay, this is something I really want to get involved with?
Yeah, I joined crypto in December 2017. So what's that, like over 5 years ago? I think it was really long time ago. I saw some articles on Facebook when I was scrolling on Facebook back then. I actually used Facebook back in like 2017. Like, I don't think about that now, but I would be on Facebook all the time and I'd see these articles like Bitcoin just hit 20K. I saw this other article, Tron up 800%, Cardano up 600%, all these like big numbers of like profits people were making, and I was like, what is this shit? Like, what even is this? So I clicked on it, this
Mhm.
article, and I looked at the different websites for the coins that they talked about. I looked at the
Mhm.
one called Tron, and that one really spoke to me because I watched this movie Tron a few years ago, and it was like one of my favorite movies ever. It's like a futuristic, I guess, dystopian sort of like I don't even know, like a sci-fi sort of movie. Anyway, I really liked it, and this project was sort of themed around Tron, so I was like, this is really cool. It's like one of my favorite movies, except I can make money off it. This is sort of cool. So I kept researching, and from there, it's just like going down the rabbit hole and just getting obsessed with things. I tend to get obsessed with stuff, so crypto is like the most addictive, obsessive thing you can get into if you really like it. So, yeah, it's a very deep rabbit hole. I feel like I've barely even fucking like dug into it, and it's 5 years in. So.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's super cool to hear you say. And what was your impression of the crypto market at that time? When you first get introduced to something like that and you see all these big numbers, was there like an inclination to just look at the money you had and jump right in? Or did you understand at that point, oh, this is something I want to research further? Like, was there a learning curve, within those first couple years as far as, really establishing yourself into crypto being something you wanted to pursue?
Man, I was so shit at crypto for like the first 2 years. Like, I was actually genuinely terrible. Like, at the time, I had zero experience in investing or markets or, crypto or anything. I was 18, just finished high school, really not that smart of a person either. And I was just like, I was quite naive to how markets worked. I was basically just like, writing down all these options of what I should do. Should I go to university? Should I get a trade where I like work as like a plumber or something? Or should I just do crypto and just like double my money every year and I'll be a millionaire by 22? So I like extrapolated out all the different options, and I just thought that I could just, 10x my money every year and I would just be a millionaire by like 21. It was so stupid. I had no clue what I was doing. So it was a huge learning curve. The learning curve of crypto is probably one of the biggest out there. Like, if you're picking a niche to try to become very good in, it's probably one of the hardest out there, just simply because of how competitive it is and how fast it's changing, but also how sketchy it is. Like, back then, I remember everyone on Twitter always emphasized, and on YouTube, they always emphasized, this is the Wild West. You have to be careful. This shit is dangerous. I just remember this in my brain. Everyone always called crypto the Wild West. And really, to this day, it's still the Wild West. Like, Exchanges like FTX is still blowing up, billions of dollars getting lost, scams left, right, and center. It is still the Wild West 5, 6 years later. So I would say, yeah, it's a huge learning curve. And I sucked at it for so long. And I'm finally good at it after, after 2 years, I was getting decent. But 5 years in, you get pretty good at this stuff. So
Mm-hmm. And who were the first people that you looked to early? I know at first you probably thought like this is all on me, and like you were very, diving into the self-teaching side of it. When did it trigger for you? Like maybe did you go get a mentor, or did you just watch certain people for an extended period of time before you felt confident within, your skill set around it?
So there was this guy on Twitter I really looked up to. He's actually still on Twitter. He doesn't post, but his name was like Trading Room App. He used to post content all the time about crypto. He was so good at crypto. And he put a comment under someone else's post on Twitter. It was so random. No one saw it. This guy always gets like 1,000 likes a tweet, but he put this comment under someone else's post. No one saw it. And it was like, I'm taking on people to mentor. Email me here if you're interested. And I was like, what the fuck? Why did this come up on my Twitter feed? And why did he comment it here? He could have got 10 million like emails if he did it through his actual Twitter account. So anyway, I emailed him. He didn't reply. I emailed him many times over the course of 6 months. Finally, he replied and I got on a call with him. This guy ended up mentoring me, and he taught me a lot about trading, investing, and also about how to run businesses. So I ended up working inside of one of his trading algorithm related companies. And he sort of got me in the space, and sort of he was the first person to like open my eyes to, like this rich mentality. Like up until then, I hadn't spoken to any rich people. I didn't understand that there was even a mindset difference. I didn't see the gaps in my current thinking. I had no clue. I was like just base level programming from a middle class family. And then this guy would be asking me questions on the call. I remember like years ago, he was like, so like, do you want to get rich? Like, what do you want to achieve? And I was like, I mean, yeah, it'd be nice. And I was like, but you're not going to get there if it's nice. Like, do you want it or not? He like really wanted to like test like if I had it. And it was really interesting. That was my first exposure to, a wealthy individual and how they think. And now if I think back to like, if I was to hop on a call with someone, in the same shoes as me back then, I'd be asking the same questions. I'd be like, what are your goals? And they'd be like, oh, I'd like to achieve things, but I'd be like, but like, do you really want it? Like, what do you really want? I'd really want to test them to see if they had that little fire inside of them. So, and then, he mentored me a lot on crypto. And from there, it's just learning, taking on roles inside of companies, like getting firsthand experience from many different things. And you get good at stuff over time. You combine all different skills together and it works out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what would you say can you take me back to like an early, obviously you're very successful now, but can you take me back to an early failure you had getting introduced to the space and, what you learned from that?
Oh, bro, there's like a billion. I mean, I bought Tron at like 2 or 3 cents in December 2017. And at the time I was a surf instructor. So I would, like do shit coins and then go teach people how to surf. I remember I came back from a surf lesson and I loaded up my phone. I looked at my portfolio and I literally like had like 10x to my money. Like it went up like 10x in the space of a few days. I didn't check it for a few days and I checked it and I was like, hold up, I just made like 6 grand or something. Or I don't even know, it was like 10 grand at the peak. I was like, holy shit, how did I make all this money? And I just didn't think about it. But then it went like this and it fucking went straight back down. And so then the next week I was at the surf school, I checked it again and I lost the entire like gain that I made. So like Tron was fucked. It went literally like straight up 10x and then straight back down. So, I mean, I would call that a loss because I held it through back to where it was in a losing position. I didn't take any profits. I just thought, oh, it's just going to dip and it's going to go up again. This project's great. I didn't understand market cycles. And that was like the beginning. Somehow I managed to make money temporarily. Other than that, I bought Verge just before the Rafe protocol release. The price had gone like 100x leading up to this event. And I bought it the day after Rafe protocol because I thought this protocol is going to change the game forever. If I just buy it when it releases, everyone's going to realize once it's released that it's so good and they're going to all buy after me. But I didn't realize that people buy in anticipation of the event happening. The price rise leading up to the event was people looking into the future, trying to anticipate what others would be thinking. and I was the idiot who bought the top so that the smart people could, sell to me. So yeah, that was a big learning lesson. That literally went down like 90, 95%. I held it the entire way. But then from the bottom, it went up about 5x. It got up to almost, I think, a 30% loss, and I sold it basically at the exact top on that next rally. So I only lost about 30% from buying the last top because I managed to time selling the end of the next piece of big news. So like instead of me buying the top when the news came out, I sold the top. So I had learnt my lesson. So
Yeah. No, super cool. Now, crypto today. Obviously it's changed a lot since 2017. I want to know, I know you're currently based in Australia, correct?
yeah.
And that's now, how do you like being around? I know you've traveled around the world. How do you see like crypto adoption like varying across different regions around the world? Is there a certain market where you see it doing better than others? Can you kind of take me through the global perspective of crypto right now and kind of maybe anything you see happening?
I'd say in Australia, the city that
Mhm.
I live in
Yeah.
and the city an hour away from me, which is Gold Coast and Brisbane,
Mhm.
is definitely by far the most crypto like adopted place in Australia. Like
Okay.
there's a lot of crypto guys here. I don't know why they all just congregate in Gold Coast and Brisbane. Like
Okay.
obviously there's people in Sydney and Melbourne and Perth, but it's really Gold Coast and Brisbane and just Queensland in general, which has a lot of crypto adoption. To be
Mhm.
honest, I never use crypto here. Like it's not like I go down to the coffee shop and I'm spending crypto, but I'm investing in crypto not as a sort of as a payment method. I'm not speculating on crypto becoming used for payments to buy coffee. That's not really what my investment thesis.
Mhm.
So yeah, I don't really keep track of the adoption and stuff. I've noticed that in third world countries, it's definitely less. I mean, less popular. I think
Mhm.
it's really Asia and the US where it's most popular. Especially, I think Asia's really picking up in terms of their crypto adoption at the moment. So, but yeah, I haven't really noticed too many trends to be honest, and I don't really use crypto on a day to day basis like that either. So,
Mhm.
yeah,
Interesting. And so what is your why behind crypto right now? What is your pull to holding it and trading it currently then, aside from, obviously like you said, you're not interested in necessarily the full scale adoption of it, but what's the value proposition for you?
yeah. Well, I mean, 99% of crypto is just facilitating gambling in some way, shape, or form, and I think gambling is a very popular niche, and I think that like if you look at a lot of the things that have been created in crypto, like DeFi and NFTs and all this stuff, there is an element of like, like something genuine behind it. Like an NFT is art, there is community. But at the end of the day, people are here to speculate in a market where there isn't restrictions like there would be in sports betting or trading stocks, et cetera, et cetera. So I just think that crypto is the best market to speculate in. I think that because of its looser regulations, there's a lot more money to be made. When you trade stocks, it's very regulated. There's a lot of competition, and a lot of the edge, a lot of the alpha has been sort of like has been arbed out by a lot of the big players and the very very smart individuals who, put themselves in the stock market. I think crypto, if you're a young guy who can research these really new sectors, there's just a lot of upside potential. The returns in crypto are what you would call asymmetric, meaning that the risk is not too high. I mean, the risk is high, but you can control your risk. But the upside is huge. It's like a one risk for every 10 rewards sort of setup. You don't get that asymmetric risk profile or return profile that you like in stocks. You don't get it in stocks as much unless you're buying stuff like me, that big short squeeze that happened back in the last bull run. But there's just a lot more opportunity to take yourself into the 7 8 figure portfolio mark in crypto, starting from a smaller amount than there is in any other market. So that's my bull case. It's just that there's more potential to make money here, and it's also what interests me. I think you need to pay attention to what interests you. I'm not going to do stocks because I genuinely don't have any interest in it. And so my because I don't know anything about it, because I'm not interested, my level of skill is going to be the same level as the majority of people. You only make money if your skill's better than everyone else. So why I'm not going to try to become better than everyone else if I genuinely don't care. In crypto, I love this shit. I'm obsessed with it. So I'm going to be better than everyone else just purely because of that. That gives me the edge to make money. So
Very cool. And what do you look for in coins that are going to do well? Like, is there certain things that you, when you're looking to either make a trade or, yeah, like add to your portfolio that, this, what's coming out, it has to have this. What is that for you?
yeah, so a lot of people on Twitter and YouTube and stuff, they have a really strange approach to talking about why a project's good. I saw a video on Twitter today. It was like this guy talking about why, what coins was it? It was two coins. I can't remember the names of the coins, but anyway, it was two like random projects that were launched back in like 2019, 2020. And he was talking about how great the technology is. Oh, one of them was Near Protocol. He was like, Near Protocol is so great because of the sharding technology and because it's easy for people to build on it. And I was like, that's not why coins go up. His framework for analyzing why something is good doesn't actually make you money. Because if you look at the Near Protocol price, it's literally a terrible performing asset recently. You would have been better off buying something like Arbitrum with a proper framework that would have actually made you money. See, when I look at a project that makes me money, I evaluate it based on how good is the team? What is the narrative that is going to form in the future that hasn't currently formed yet? And how, like, in terms of the team, it's about how much updates are they pushing out, how like competitive are they with getting an edge over their competitors, and basically like what is the previous projects that these people have worked on. Because a lot of times like someone will work on a project, they'll sort of not give a fuck about this project and they'll launch a new one. It's the same dude in a new project. This thing is going to be a really good, it's going to have a lot of potential because it's got the same sort of main man or team behind it. Good example of a good team is Blur. Blur is the only NFT project that has managed to compete with OpenSea in a genuine level.
Mm.
And you could tell that Blur was a really great team and a great company. And I'll call it a company, but it's more a coin. You could tell that they were great because of every time OpenSea would do something to try to destroy them and slow them down, they would come back twice as fast with an update, which would basically like put them ahead of OpenSea again. So OpenSea would ban Blur transactions. Blur would come back with some new technology that's never been seen before next week, and they would take back what OpenSea had done to them. So yeah, when you look at a great team, a great team with a shit idea can just pivot to a new idea. Like it's easy. You can change ideas like click of a finger. But a shit team with a great idea, they're not going to execute properly because a great team will eventually find the good idea and they'll just beat the shit team just purely because they'll eventually find the right direction to point their energy in. So like these people, they like supporting the underdogs. It's totally moronic because they're going to get outcompeted by the good projects. Like I see dudes supporting like a $500,000 market cap coin that was founded by some idiot who has no idea what he's doing. And yeah, sure, I guess you could say that like the small ones make the 100x returns, but I think in terms of like the probability of you succeeding, if you bet on a good team, you bet on a good founder of a new project, the probability of you succeeding is significantly higher. And when the probability is higher of success, you can put more capital behind it. Sure, you buy a $500,000 market cap coin, but how much conviction do you have? How much money are you going to put into it? Maybe like $1,000. You'd only put in what you were willing to see go to zero because you would expect it to go to zero. So you're never going to put lots of capital in. Whereas if there's a new project, let's say a 50 million market cap, it's got a super high probability of succeeding because the team's insane, they're executing. You can enter that position with a lot more size because you've got more conviction. And that's what I prefer to do. So
Cool. Yeah, I think you touched on a couple of cool things there, especially about like even just hinting back to the decentralization aspect of crypto, and like that's where there's a lot of opportunity within that, but it allows companies like Blur to innovate. Like it's not like there's a set way to solve all these problems or to find new ones. It's like no, these guys just they see it's the newness of kind of the space, and they were able to look at what OpenSea did right or wrong and basically make a better version of that. And I think we'll continue to see that as the space develops. Now, you touched on market cap, and like you talked about a coin that 500K and 50, what'd you say, 50 million?
Hmm.
Can you break down how they, or like at least in simple terms, how you get to that market cap number, especially as a new coin? Is it purely based on the founders who brought it in and what they're putting into it, or does it come from, another source that we should kind of be looking into?
I mean, it's everything.
Mhm.
It's what VCs are backing you. How much money did the VCs raise? How good's your marketing? How big's your community? How big is the problem you're solving? How much of the market in that particular problem do you occupy? So let's say the problem's like giving people access to the ability to lend and borrow money, like DeFi. That's a problem, right? The solution, like Aave, which is one of the biggest ones, will have one of the bigger market caps. Big problem. It has majority of the market. It'll have a large market cap. But yeah, it's basically everything. You know, you It's also about the narrative. The narrative is a big part that drives evaluation because you can't beat the story that someone tells themselves about your project. You can tell them whatever you want, but the story in their mind is ultimately what matters most. So someone is willing to hold a coin that has gone up 100x if the story in their mind is if it's going to go 1000x. That's the narrative. It's the interwoven set of stories which create this narrative surrounding a coin, which is the belief, which is your belief of what it's going to achieve. This is why cults are so powerful. It's not just someone telling you something and you believing it. It's an interwoven set of stories which create sort of the entire belief that you have around something. It's like the full picture. So like a cult can keep someone in and convince them to do everything they want them to do because they've just occupied the entirety of their mind. Same with a project, right? Some of these projects turn into cults that people dedicate their life to. They dedicate their life to trying to market the coin. They'll go out in public. They'll wear the merch. They'll have like a Solana hat, Solana t-shirt. They'll say like, I'm hodling my bags to the moon. I'm not selling to 1000x. It's a cult. And it's a narrative. They basically like brainwashed almost. But these are great projects to own because the higher the amount of brainwashed cult people in a community, the less sell pressure there is going to be as the price rises. Okay, you want to be buying a coin that no one wants to sell, even if it goes up. This is why the meme coins go up and go down so fast. It's because the people who hold them don't really believe in them. It's ultimately a meme. Like that Pepe coin, the Pepe coin that's launched this week, that's going to dump so hard. Why is that? Well, I mean, it went up a lot. So when it goes up a lot, it goes down a lot. But it's also because people don't really believe in Pepe coin. Like it's just another shitcoin. People hold it purely to try to make a quick dollar. They're not like, wow, this is the future of fucking finance. This is going to take over the industry. None of that. It's just like, this is a meme coin. Let's try to get rich quick. And it's going to dump as fast as it went up. So
Interesting. Yeah, no, that's super good advice. And now, I think we got a really good gauge on like, your stuff in crypto. You've had great experience and a lot of the things you said there as somebody who's really, I look for a lot of those things in the businesses I work with or the partnerships I make. So it correlates really well to just, the
mhm.
overall entrepreneurial landscape, the overall business landscape. How did you first start making money online? Can you take me through that?
Yeah. So I never really did like e-com or agencies or anything like that. Like a lot of people believe that the only way to make money is like it's like those core ways. It's like you either make an e-com store, do some drop shipping, or you make some agency helping people do marketing, or you like do OnlyFans or something. But there's like a lot of ways, there's a lot of unique paths. So I would say my path into the online business space is a bit more unique. So the first thing I did ever in terms of like an online income was a marketing job for a trading algorithm company, the one I mentioned before from that trading mentor. So I was like the head marketer of this company. My job was to create a brand, create content, and basically, sell the access to the algorithms. And that got me started into a lot of stuff that I'm still doing to this day, which is building a brand online and creating education about crypto and also selling crypto related stuff. So I still do like what I was doing like 3 years ago, just in like different forms. But yeah, after that, I worked in a few companies. I worked in a couple crypto projects, just doing marketing. I found that shit very boring, so I dropped that like very fast. And I did Hustlers University as well. That was a huge eye opener into how big companies work, and how to run a business. And now today it's basically just doing my own stuff. I'm really focused on my personal brand, and just, yeah, building my own stuff, because it's where I get the most enjoyment from. So
Yeah, no, super cool. And like we talked about, I want to, can you briefly kind of take me through your experience working with Hustlers University? I think that's just like something super interesting. I'm sure you learned a lot kind of through that. Can you brief me on, how you first got introduced to that opportunity, and then maybe just some lessons you pulled from your experience working with Hustlers University?
yeah. So for context, Hustlers University, it's an online education platform. It scaled from 0 to 150,000 paying students within about 1.5 years. So $0 to $10 million a month in revenue in like fucking just over a year. So it scaled really, really fast. If you look at the student count of how many paying people there were, it basically just only went up without any down days for the till about 50,000 students. It was fucking nuts. Like, no, I've never seen a company scale like this one. I don't even know if you could find one. It was just insane. Yeah, in terms of lessons, I mean, it was really just an insight into how really good business people operate. Like, the Tates are some of the best salesmen and marketers on the planet, I would say. They're very, very good at business as well, but their main thing is sales and marketing. They're absolute geniuses at it, like fucking crazy. One of the biggest things I learned was probably like setting a goal and genuinely having conviction behind it. So from day one of Hustlers University, we had $0 of revenue, zero students. I have a photo of the Discord. It was just empty. It was just us. And Luke was basically like, so everyone, we're going to get to 100,000 students. It's inevitable. It's going to happen probably within a year or two. And it's your job to give enough value that people will just stay inside forever. And that we're like, okay, I don't think we'll get to 100,000, but sure, Luke, have your dreams. That's okay. And he was like, you guys think I'm joking. Like, we're going to get there. As if he could see the future or some shit. As if he came back from the future and like fucking teleported or something. And we kept going up, and we eventually got the 100,000, and we're like, holy shit, like, how did you know, Luke? And it was just like pure conviction into forcing the universe basically to give you what you wanted. Like, when you set a goal and you genuinely believe in it, and you dedicate every second of and every fiber of your being to achieving this goal, like, there's nothing that can really stop you. Like, if you genuinely put in the work, there's nothing you couldn't achieve outside of areas where you'd need some sort of genetic feat. Like, you could pretty much achieve everything. Like, anyone watching, if you wanted to become a millionaire and you genuinely set your mind to it, like, you can. It's just a matter of like actually having full conviction, because the Tates, they're the hardest workers I've ever met by far. Luke just does not stop working. He's insane. It's amazing. He works all the time. He always finds work to do, always hiring new people, always outsourcing things, always scaling up to the next level. It's insane. I don't know how they do it. So
Mhm. Very interesting. And now, like, scaling a company that fast, and have like being a part of something that's growing that quickly, were there times of doubt, like within that, 12 months of building, or was the consistent progress just something that was so motivating to, everyone on the team, and like that was the okay, like we're seeing positive results? Or was there a time where you felt like, oh, maybe, this isn't something that I want to be a part of for the long run?
every day was almost like, well, not every day, but like most days were like some sort of state of like emergency. Like,
Interesting.
you have to, like, everything's about perspective, and you can create a narrative in your mind for what you think is occurring. So if you view 10,000 a month as a lot of money, that is your limit. That's your cap. It's like with dating, right? If you look at a girl and you're like, she is so beautiful, oh my god, you're placing that as something that you almost can't have, because of how highly you value it. You're putting it on a pedestal. So the biggest thing with the Tates was like, yes, we're growing insanely fast, but this is broken. We're having issues with handling the inflow. We could have done more because we've had faster growth days before. As the group gets bigger, we have more affiliates. Why are we not growing faster as the group gets bigger? And then maybe one day we have a slow day, and we're like, this is an emergency. What is going wrong? you know, the growth of HU is directly tied to how much content is going out. So why is there not enough content created? How can we create more content? How can we provide more value to the people in HU? How can we make them more money? How can we like just genuinely transform everyone's life more? So like you have to create a perspective that even if you're doing well, it's not enough, because you could always do better. And that's really important. If you want to be at the top, you have to be, I mean, you can be happy with the growth, but you can't be satisfied with it. You can't be satisfied that, yeah, they can't, okay, like a lot of people, they'll start declining, and they'll say, oh, it's because of this, it's because, you know, we're in a recession. No, that's just a story that you're telling yourself. Hustlers University continued to grow exponentially during the beginning of a recession. It was literally like anti-recession. It didn't give a fuck. Like companies, there's so many companies that grow in a recession. It's just about pure raw work ethic and believing that none of these outside variables matter. Doesn't matter. Like, doesn't matter if the world's in a recession. Doesn't matter what you subjectively think is going to affect your business. If you want it to scale, you have to place that as the expectation.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think one big pull I took away from, obviously the I guess the narrative of a decline, in the US and just like globally how everything's been changing is like at these times where there's all this doubt or whatever, it's like that's the quiet time. Like there's less competition now, in my opinion, in the last couple years. Like I've taken it as like, no, all these people are quiet about crypto, they're quiet about NFTs, they're quiet about, doing business. They don't want to like have too much, loans going out and whatnot. And like, it's very interesting to me. I was like, I think you could take this time to, okay, let people think that and start, they're only illuminating that they're having all these problems and there's more problems to be solved, and like really, focus in on what you exactly want to build, and you could use this time to get ahead. So, I think that's super cool how you're able to really realize that. Now I want to pull up a tweet you had because I screenshotted it because it relates a lot to success, and I think if people could kind of hear where this kind of came from, I think it would provide a lot of value and give them that here's what to expect as far as what we mean by like, it's not enough, like keep going. You said the difference between you and seven figures in the bank is about 10,000 decisions. The quicker you make these decisions, the quicker you get there. This is why people who hesitate, procrastinate, always fail. Speed is the key to success. How did you first get introduced to that idea, and how do you practice that idea of just quick decision making now?
It's a good question. I don't know how I think I came up with it, to be honest. I think I just, because I was doing like sales work as well. I was actually doing some high ticket sales work. And when you do sales, it's basically a really profound introduction into how humans work. And you see, you pick up patterns, right? When you speak to enough people, you see what they do with their life. You see where they go or where they don't go. Like you see what they achieve or what they don't achieve. You pick up patterns of like who's successful and who isn't. Like you can really tell. Like I can tell like immediately when I look at someone, like, or after talking to them, I can tell like if they're going to be successful or not. And the hit rate is so high. Like, and this is why it's really easy to hire in companies and stuff, because you can just talk to someone, you can know like what type of person they are, just because of the pattern recognition database that I've built up from doing sales and talking to thousands of people about how to improve their lives with the various things that I've sold. So back to that point of the tweet, I learned that the people who got results make fast decisions, because each decision that, like, the thing is, like, it's sort of hard to explain, but the faster you make a decision, the more the universe is going to like respect you for executing. So when you think about a decision, if you sat down and you just only thought about this decision that you have to make. Let's say you're deciding if you want to join a network, right? You're deciding if you want to join a network to improve who you associate yourself with. Imagine you sat down, put your phone in another room, turned off all the fucking sounds around you, and you just thought about that decision for 30 minutes. You would consider every single possible angle, every variable. You'd consider everything. You wouldn't have to do any more thinking. But the problem is people don't do that. They'll think for 5 minutes while they're having dinner. and then they'll have a bunch of coping mechanisms and procrastination, and then they'll delay the decision to another time. Oh, I'll think about it later when I come up with, I'm going to come up with some magical realization that's going to tell me if I should join or not. And then, a day's passed. That's 24 hours. And then they think about it again at breakfast. And then they go, maybe I should talk to a friend. And then they'll go ask a friend. Now it's the next day. They've just wasted 48 hours of their finite life deciding something that could have taken 30 minutes if they just sat in their fucking room and meditated. So the key is 10,000 decisions before you become a millionaire, because each decision only needs 30 minutes to take. And if you make each decision fast, you're basically getting to that next level. Imagine getting to a millionaire, taking 10,000 steps. And each step, if you just take more steps, you get to the fucking endpoint faster. So you join the network, boom, 30 minutes decided. Once you're in the network, okay, so should I message this person? Done, decided, boom, next decision. Okay, maybe I should, offer to work with this guy and form a partnership on this business. Boom, decided. That's the next step. Okay, maybe I should actually go to this networking event inside of this group. It's going to cost another $2,000. All right, decided, boom, next decision. And eventually you just make enough decisions, you do it fast enough, you end up with $1 million in your bank account. It just happens. So that's an explanation of the tweet.
Yeah, no, super cool. And I like the 10,000 thing a lot, because I think most people, you come up and, a lot of people, at least in my circles, we all came up, just to use sports as an example, coming up playing sports, all you hear about, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, what did they do? They always say, you got to hit your 10,000 hours. You got to hit your 10,000 free throws. You got to hit your 10,000 3-point shots. If you purely want to, they always said that's how you master something. And I like that in the world of business, because it's hitting that, $1 million mark, or that $10 million mark for a lot of people is, okay, that confidence that, you've mastered this, at least in a way that you could certainly show other people on how to do that. And that's something that I see happening in this online space a lot, is people are figuring out, they are putting in the 10,000 hours, they are putting in the 10,000 decisions, and then they're seeing, okay, how could I use this to help other people? And they're naturally growing because of that. So that's why I really like when I talk to guys like you who have had these experiences. And like you said, it's only been 5 years. People will go work, a job for 30 years to see a lot of the same similar success. But it's you could go through it very consistently for 5 years, dedicate yourself, make those decisions, think the right way consistently. And then when you start coaching other people on how to do that, you can really start to see the exponential growth kind of just within that. But you have to do it first. There's so many of these people, like you said, I can tell right away when I'm talking to somebody and they're explaining that they're an expert on something and they haven't even done it. As I'm sure you do, you probably get hit up by agencies all the time, or let me do this, let me do that. And then you look at their profile and they're a short form content agency and they have no short form content. And I'm like, how are you possibly going to tell me that you're going to help me with this if you've never even, done it yourself, or aren't even on the way to doing it yourself? So
yeah, people
yeah,
overestimate the quality of a decision. They overvalue the quality of a decision, and they underestimate the speed of a decision. Speed of a decision isn't even a variable for most people. It's not even a consideration. It's imagine you're fat and you don't even realize that you have all this excess fat on you. You don't even realize how you could run down the street. You don't even know. You're walking, you're fumbling around. You could run, but you don't even know. That's what these people have with decisions. They don't know what they're missing out on. It's not even a consideration in their mind. They've never even thought about, oh, maybe I should make this decision faster. Maybe it'll be better, more beneficial. It's not even there. So
yeah, and the opportunity wouldn't be there if you weren't meant to consider it. And something else you said was when you make the decisions, it's the universe rewards you for those faster decisions and creates new opportunities based on those quick decisions. But if you don't make that decision, then you're just blocking, you're not freeing up any space or any energy for new things to come in. I've found this myself. Like I said, I'm still somebody who's building, and I face this all the time. If I have analysis paralysis on something, then it's I just see so many other unrelated things start to kind of not go my way. But as soon as I address that thing that I need to make a decision on, wow, the whole world starts to open up, and I'm like, oh wow, it is actually working in my favor more than I thought. All I had to do was make this, important decision. That's good. It's about listening to yourself. What are some things you do? I want to get into the mental game a little bit, and then we'll wrap up with our final three. What do you do to put yourself in that mental state, consistently? How can we get better about trusting our own decisions and like our own intuition?
Well, I mean, I trust my decisions now because I've proven that my decisions are good with results. I didn't know before I had results that my decisions were good. But I tend to underthink decisions, which is one of my greatest strengths. But also, underthinking can be a weakness in some regards. But like, yeah, one of my greatest strengths is just I don't really tend to think too much about the negative side of things. So I'll just execute. But that's helped me a lot in business because really in the businesses I do, which are just super basic, like it's just like you're basically a guru, like it's the most basic shit ever. It's really just about executing because you're not doing anything new. You're just trying to learn as fast as possible and execute as fast as possible something that's already been done. I'm sure if you're innovating how to build a fucking spaceship to Mars like SpaceX, you probably want to make a highly considered decision where you consider all the variables. So my fast action taking wouldn't work there. I would suck because I'd just be like, yeah, fuck it. Put the rocket on the bottom, fuck it, just chuck it on. But like that wouldn't work in that company, right? But for what I do and for what most people want to do, a basic company where there's not the fucking future of humanity resting on, the whatever outcome, whatever decision you decide to make. So yeah, I've sort of forgot what your original question was, but I would.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like you said, how do you personally, trust your intuition? You said you've stacked
Yes.
the proof that tells you that's right. Maybe take me back to when you didn't have the proof. How were you how did you put yourself in the mental state like execute, like you said? Was it, yeah,
Yeah, so that links back to the point of underthinking. So the reason
underthinking?
that
Yeah.
people might not believe in themselves, they might not trust their decision, is because they're thinking too much. Their brain's on. You'd have to turn the brain off. You have to not think.
Mhm.
Like when I got offered that marketing job to work with a company, I was like shitting myself at the time. I was like, oh my god, there's this Chinese dude. He licensed this algorithm software for like $1 million from my mentor. Oh my god, this is like I'm getting on a call with some dude from China, and he's like all serious, like we are going to build a big company. Like you want to work with me? And I was like, what the fuck? But I didn't allow myself to really think. I was just like, this is a good opportunity, and there's no downside. If I fail, I fail. I live in Australia. This guy lives in China. Like he's not going to come and fucking murder me because I didn't do everything I should have done. So there's zero downside, and there's unlimited upside. So you just have. I just was like, I just have to turn the brain off, and I naturally do that anyway. I naturally underthink decisions. I naturally underthink consequences. So I guess to try to give someone advice for what they should do, you have to create the mental habit of not thinking and just executing. It's a must. I would call it a muscle almost. You have to exercise the muscle of just executing. And thinking's overrated. If you think about every great creation in all of human history, no one was thinking. There was no thinking involved. Think about the great artworks. Think about musicians on a live on stage giving a live performance. Think about people competing in sporting competitions. This wasn't on. There was no thinking. They were almost not even self-aware. They were in a flow state. Thinking is what you do when you're coming out of a flow state. If you just execute on a decision, you're respecting like this God state and flow state by keeping yourself in it. When someone presents you an opportunity and you just fucking take it, you're respecting your flow state. You're keeping your brain off, which is where the best work happens, right?
Mhm.
Like, and that's what happens with my work that I do. Your best work, like think about the day before an assignment is due and you haven't even started it. Do you really think when you're doing that work, oh, okay, so I'm learning this, I'm trying to consider it. You don't really think about what you're doing, you just execute. You're in the flow state. It's almost like God, if you want to believe in God, is acting through you, like to a certain extent. Like think about the most epic thing you've ever done and think about if your brain was like if you were thinking. Were you like in the moment during that epic state. No, it was almost like God was acting through you. Like there were times when I was like in a club and I was just talking absolute, I was spitting absolute game to like girls. And I was just like the next morning looking back on it in reflection. And I was like, that wasn't me. That was not me talking to those girls at the club. It was almost like God was talking to them, if you want to believe in God.
Mhm.
So yeah, you have to respect flow state. You have to respect that force within you that wants to just decide everything for you. And you have to stop thinking, because thinking doesn't do anything for you, really. Like thinking is overrated. Like I think thinking is attributed to like self-awareness that humans have and no other sort of, animal on the planet has. Humans are like this one group of, where there's one species that has this ability to think. And I really feel like it's almost detrimental to a certain extent for most aspects. I
Mhm.
think if you're making a really important decision, you do need an element of thinking to sit down and consider it. But like, yeah, in the wild, you don't have time to think. If a tiger starts fucking running to you, you don't sit there and, oh, should I run? No, you fucking running straight away. No thinking required.
Yeah.
It wasn't even something involved in your life. So yeah.
Cool. Yeah, no, I really like that. You hit on flow state, which has been so important to me and so important to so many people. I think we like it's exactly that. It's turning off the thinking. I think it's why, I stress, I find planning days like so important if you already have those plans made. Like when I just look at my calendar for the next day and I know I have 4 sales calls, I love it because like you said, it eliminates the having to think what I have to do. I know, look, I put these 4 things on my schedule. I'm going to be 100% present in those things. And we're going to see what happens after that. And that really does help eliminate the thinking. When you don't plan out or you don't do any sort of, planning in that sense, you don't get that. You spend time thinking, oh, what decision should I make? Oh, what, is this right? Is this wrong? Should I even spend the time on it? So I think that's super cool that like dialing into
And
flow state, turning off the mind. Yeah.
And also think about like what is meditation?
Mm.
Meditation is almost emptying your brain of thoughts. It's like imagine you've got all rubbish in your house. Meditation is going around the house, picking up the rubbish, putting it in a bin and getting rid of it. It's trying to remove thinking. It's okay, my brain's all over the place. I've got all these thoughts that I haven't really like gone over. Let me sit in the corner for 30 minutes, pick up the rubbish, get rid of it so that I can just be present in the moment after I've meditated. That's exactly what meditation is. It's just cleaning up your brain. It's like when your computer is really slow, it's because there's all shit everywhere and it's messy. So you do like a diagnostic sort of analysis and then you do the cleanup and it fixes everything. And then your computer's back to running smoothly. No glitches, no thinking, no bullshit.
Mm. Yeah, and you do have to practice these things. It's like you can just say it, you can listen to it, but unless you actually, if you can't work on a task and like you said, turn off your mind and just focus on that task, it's a good sign. Maybe you should start meditating. Maybe you should start spending, me personally, like practice 15 minutes a day, just turning the mind off and getting used to what that feels like. And then naturally you'll start to see it play into everything you do. I even say like on the podcast, like there's times where yes, there's a lot to cover and people say exciting things and sometimes I get a little nervous or whatever because I'm thinking too far ahead. But meditation has taught me like I can just breathe in these moments and just, let everything happen. And like being able to just tune in and catch my breath has really allowed for, the best things to really come into play. So no, that's
Mm.
super cool. Now I want to talk
And
about what is something, and you kind of hit on this. I'm curious if it's the same. What do you think a lot of people value that you don't?
I'd say probably like something random like watching sport.
Cool. Yeah. No, totally makes sense. Now, what would you say 99% of people need to unlearn to reach their full potential?
Well, 99, I would say like at least 90% of people aren't wealthy. And if
Right.
you're not wealthy, it means your parents aren't wealthy. And if your parents aren't wealthy, it means they've failed as a human to accumulate wealth, which would have given them freedom. Everyone wants money because everyone works. If you didn't want money, you wouldn't have a job. So the fact that people work jobs they don't like and they don't have large sums of money, to give them freedom to not work the job they don't like means they've failed. They've existed on the planet for 60 years, whatever it is, as a parent, and they failed to accumulate wealth. Failure. So if you're in the 90% of people where you are, you've grown up amongst parents who have failed in the financial game, they're going to teach you how to fail at finance because they've failed at it, right? Would you take advice on how to play soccer from someone who sucks at soccer? Well, you might if you played soccer with them and you've only ever played soccer with them. You'd probably take their advice. You'd probably think maybe because they're a little bit better at soccer than you that they're worth listening to, because you're literally never played soccer before. So most people have to unlearn that their parents don't know shit about money, 90% of them. And there's some people who do know a lot about money, and they need to get in conversations with those people. And you need to unlearn whatever your parents have taught you because they're literally fucking clueless. They think the secret to wealth is buying a house when you're young and just watching it as it appreciates endlessly in value until one day you can retire from your shit job and your house will be paid off and you'll be able to be happy. Whatever. Some bullshit, right? That's one example of the terrible advice that 90% of parents are going to give you because they've never won at the game of finance. They don't know how the game of finance is won. So you need to talk to people who know how to win in the game of finance, and they'll be able to reprogram you to be able to think correctly. And that's what I've had to undergo with my various mentors. It's a form of reprogramming. It's updating the code, the malware of your brain to think correctly to achieve your goal, which is to make money, right? Because everyone ultimately wants freedom. Freedom either comes from having no money, no job, just sort of living, happily, or it's from having a ton of money and not having to work a job. The pain is in the middle. It's where you value money enough that you want a decent amount of it, but you sacrifice your freedom to get it, but never enough to give yourself a significant period of your life where you don't have to work for money. Like when you're in the middle, you're always having to work for money. So that's basically my answer to that question.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And you touched on earlier, right at the beginning, you're recently getting involved, getting ready to start working with Iman, and he's somebody he's so big and so influential. Now, I want to talk about what stands out to you about Iman and like why he's someone that you want to work with.
So if you look at the sector that I sort of operate in, which is like the online guru space, like how to make money online, it's a dude giving you a course. If I look at like the playing field of this competition, let's imagine again it's a game of soccer or something. Iman and Iman's like team, quote unquote, is the best. It's like the top level. I mean, other than probably Tate, I would say that Iman is the next in this like make money online game. Maybe like Grant Cardone maybe Grant Cardone's above Iman potentially because he makes even more money. Mm-hmm. But I would never be able to enter Grant Cardone's circle. So sort of he's out of the picture. So if I think of everyone who's the best of the best in this sector, it's Iman's at the top. And I think that I've gotten the most value in life from associating myself with people at the highest caliber. And I think that for everyone's life, if you want to become really good at something, you want to associate with the best. If I decided, you know what, I'm going to get back into my competitive surfing like I used to do, and I wanted to become a pro, I'd move to whatever wave had the most regular amount of very good surfers. And I would, be spending a lot of time with them, watching them surf, learning from them, riding the boards that they ride, et cetera, et cetera. So I've decided to work with Iman and his team because I like associating myself with the people who are the best in their certain field. And I think that has the biggest benefits in your learning. And also, I think it's just a great opportunity to build a reputation in a correct circle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's awesome. And what do you? Are you familiar with the term Renaissance man?
I mean, I've heard Iman use it in his marketing. So
mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm like, it's interesting because I look at like his GCC, for example, and like, yes, I know he uses it like within his marketing, but it's like it's so dead accurate as far as like the people that, like you said, they create their own wealth, they create their own value, they have this different perspective. Not I don't call it different, but like an outside perspective to 99% of people on how to just I guess, approach the business game and how to, navigate things the right way. So I guess I just kind of wanted to touch on that a little bit. What about that community? What's a quality within that community that stands out to you as far as the members in it?
I've gone to a couple events, and the guys I've met in GCC are so far really cool. There was one event in Bali which was a month long, and the guys there were super cool. Like some of the best online business guys that I've ever met. Really cool guys.
Mhm.
I think the most important part, one of the most important things in life, is to get as rich as possible while making it as small a part of your personality as possible. I think that making wealth as a part of who you are is it only presents downside, generally speaking, for most people. I think that if the more you can disassociate wealth, being rich, more so being rich with your mentality, the more it's going to help you in all areas, with girls, with friends, just in general life. If you're just a dude and it's not about your money, like every dude I look at who makes money their personality, I don't think it's really benefiting them unless they're selling you a course. Like obviously if you're a fucking guru with your Lambo, it's benefiting you because you're selling someone on the dream of making money. But I just think in terms of meeting people, the less that they suspect that you're just some rich kid, I think the better. I think that is ultimately the better position to be in. So what I like about GCC is that they're not just dudes who make money online. The guys that I met are really cool. They're just normal dudes. Very fun to be around. We don't just talk business all day. Like I don't want to talk business all day. I don't even want to talk business full stop, to be honest, in person. I like doing business when I'm at my computer, and when I leave my computer, I like just living life. So that I've met a lot of people like that. Whereas in other networks, I won't name any, but in other networks, it tends to just be like it's like a circle jerk of dudes who just make money and that's all they can do. I don't like it.
Yeah, just constantly like looking for opportunities and just it's nonstop with that. No, I like how what like the direction you went with that. Now, okay, kind of getting into our final three here. What's one question you have for the host?
What's your what's your goals for your business? How far do you want to scale it? And why did you pick that business?
Yeah. So the goal for the business is to ultimately scale to, I mean, I've got numbers wise, I want to hit 100K a month. I think that's like more than doable. And I guess the second part of that question, like, why you say why, or
Yeah,
sorry, what?
why did you pick that type of business?
Yeah. So the reason for some background, I help B2B business owners utilize LinkedIn to fill their calendars pretty much on autopilot with book discovery calls and appointments. We also do like a done for you section with that. And the reason I wanted to get involved in the LinkedIn space was I see a gap. I see a direct way to get involved with business owners and speak directly to them, like C-level executives utilizing LinkedIn. And when I look at the other outreach methods out there, such as, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, whatever, it's a lot of spam. And B, I found myself and my sales team getting connected with these high level people. Yeah, if they respond, but usually it was like their salesperson or their appointment setter is on the other end of their Instagram DMs, of their Twitter DMs. I didn't see a lot of like real conversations happening, saw a lot of no's. And I got exposed to this opportunity on LinkedIn. And I was like, oh, wow, like these guys are booking 15 to 25 qualified appointments per week with their system. I was pretty good friends with them. We'd done business in the past. And I was like, why is this working? And when they took me into their targeting and how they set up their targeting for all their clients, I was like, oh, they're only talking to C-level executives. They're only talking to companies that are doing, 10 million a year in revenue. And they're talking to businesses that haven't like are just hiring like sales teams and full on call centers to handle all their sales. They're not going, they want to work with other businesses, but they're not even trying LinkedIn. They're not even trying to have conversations. If one CEO reaches out to another CEO, there's that mutual respect there. And then you can also see, who's connected. So yeah, the reason I got involved with that was just I see a real opportunity in the market as somebody who's interviewing business owners on a weekly basis. I was like, okay, like this fits. Like you said, it was just kind of my intuition that said, yes, this is different, but it does make sense. And a lot of people don't know about it now, but it's because these guys weren't making a ton of content around the results they had. They were strictly, it was doing so well off, using the actual system to sell it that why make content? So I was like, okay, I'm already making content. I see my value proposition there. Let me educate people who are just spending, hours a day sending 100 Instagram DMs to get one reply on how they could get a response same day by the founder of, somebody they really respect. Like, perfect example. Yesterday, I saw the founder Hubi, Jordan, he was on LinkedIn, and then Kaysen was on LinkedIn. And I was like, okay, like 2,000 people are connected with them. Let me just send a connection request. They'll check out my profile, see what happens. I'm not going to reach these guys on Instagram. Let me just try. And they both connected back with me. And then same, like Adam Horowitz was another one on there that I've always respected. I was like, let me just try that. And I connected with him. And I was like, oh, cool. Like, do I just go DM these people? Of course not. But I'm glad that we're connected, and like the content I put out, it's at least in a perimeter of some sort, to where if those opportunities come on down the line, I have kind of that mutual connection point. So yeah.
And I've got a follow-up question. So when let's say you achieve this goal, which you will, summarize in one sentence what your life will look like. And don't talk about like money. Talk about like what your life will look like in one sentence.
One sentence. My life will look like a land of opportunity. I'll have the opportunity to, take my mom around the world. I'll have the opportunity to, work. I mean, I kind of have that now a little bit, but definitely the opportunity to just fly around and work where I want to work and change my environment. I think location freedom is so important to me. So yeah, one sentence, my life will look like a land of opportunity. I'll be able to really dial in. If my intuition tells me this, go take that risk, go do that. Like you said, I'll feel like I have that confidence based on the fact that opportunity wouldn't exist if I didn't just put in the work to get to 100K a month anyway. So
it makes sense.
Best way to
so when you have all this money, there's so many things that you can do now.
Yes, it allows. I'm so curious, and like you said, I'm obsessed with helping other people. I've always been the connector, and it's like I know I'll just be able to, like they say, wealth only enhances who you are. It doesn't really change you. It just enhances who you are. So if I can spend the time now at 10K a month, building who I am and what I want to see moving forward, then, it's only going to get better and better for the people that, are dialed in now and eventually come into this. So yeah, those are really good questions, man. Sometimes I get some very they're like, oh, what's your vision? I'm like, so how do you want to be remembered?
I've never thought about this question, so if I give an answer, it's just going to be something off the top of my head.
No worries.
I mean, like, I could go Alex Hormozy and basically say it doesn't matter because everyone will forget about you. Or I could just not be like so boring and give you a nice happy ending answer.
Maybe I rephrase it, because I've heard it rephrased this way too. Let's say on your tombstone, what's the last piece of advice you want people to remember from you?
Okay, I would just say you can achieve anything you set your mind to. I would just put that quote.
As like a reminder anytime somebody comes through. I love that. All right, Dan, that was awesome. We hit it, hour right on the nose. Where can we find you? And, what do we have to look forward to coming from Crypto Dan, as I like to say there?
Yeah, man. I would say that I'm looking forward to the next bull run. Gonna make so much fucking money. I feel like I've finally got my hand. I've got it by the balls. I've got the market by the balls. I can just feel it. It sounds sort of like a weird metaphor, but I can just tell this next bull run is going to be fucking crazy. So if you're wondering what you're going to look forward to, it's going to be all the money that I'm going to be showing people how to make, because I'm so fucking excited. I made a bunch last bull run, but I had nowhere near the network, the knowledge that I have now. So it's going to be fucking crazy. If you want to find me, you can go on. I'd say the best place is YouTube. My YouTube is Daniel McEvoy. McEvoy spelled MCEVOY. Or you can type in Crypto Dan. It'll come up with Crypto Dan as well. But I mean, other than that, you'll see everything on there. I don't want to shill everything. So YouTube's the best place.
Of course. For sure, man. Yeah, 100%. I will put the link to your YouTube channel in the description. Thanks again, man, so much. I gained so much out of this personally. I know everyone else is gonna feel the same. So I look forward to us doing this again sometime, maybe in person around the world.